Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to part 2 of my interview with Phi. And here he opens up about all of that added expectation from his parents and everything else going on in his life while he was trying to navigate who he was and what he wanted to do in the world. So he started partying at a young age, and he shares how he turned to drugs and alcohol to cope with some of this tough stuff going on in his life. But there were some scary nights that he opens up about, and those moments really made him start to think that he needed to make a change. That expectation, that adds like all the more pressure on you, because then you're like, well, do I listen to my parents who I love and trust? Is this the path that I want to go down? Or do I start to figure out what I enjoy and what I like and following that path? So was there a point where you realized, like, I want to go a different way than what my parents want? Or were you still staying strong to that path that your parents expected?
I think I stayed strong until after high school. High school was the turning point. Like, once I graduated, I did everything that I needed to do up until that point. And then after I kind of like was on my own, it took a little bit of a different turn. I kind of took a completely different route than they expected, I'm sure. It was a bumpy road. It was a fun road, but it was a bumpy road.
So you graduate high school. What's your first move? What's this direction you're going in?
The goal was to community college for a year or two, stack up credits, get my associates, go to a 4-year. Pharmaceuticals was on the radar, and then partying got involved. I got into the club scene, promoted clubs, partied at clubs. I was there. I mean, we were out 6-7 days a week. And this was, at a young age, I was 18, fresh out. 6 days a week of partying, 2 jobs, and then school on top. Like, it was just like, what's gonna give? You know what I mean? School gave. It got to a point where I was like, all right, well, I don't really want to do the pharmaceutical thing. I don't really see interest in it right now. Let's back off and see if we'll get back into it or not. And then I made the choice to just kind of step back and then just start working.
Wow. So that sounds like a freaking wild ride that was your, 18 to early 20s. So, I mean, what was important to you then?
You met a kid that just did whatever he wanted. You met a guy that ate shitty fast food late nights, just really living a party life at like the 30K millionaire status. Not really broke, but not making money by any means, and just going out and doing what we did. Sleeping late, getting up early to work 2 jobs, go out, booze, party, do it again.
And were you enjoying yourself? Were you happy?
I think at that time I was. Possibly more or less running away from things as well. I mean, I didn't party growing up. I was more focused on like clubs and sports and helping out at the store and just not being a bad kid. You know what I mean? Like, I think that would have hurt my parents more if I was just an asshole and just a shitty person. But I tried my best to kind of like be a good kid. During that time, I wouldn't change anything. Again, I was still decently popular for what you feel like you should be popular for or want to be popular for when you're young. The party guy, the fun guy, the guy that has the hookup at the clubs or at the bars, or, he knows all these people. Let me introduce you to this person. Let me introduce you to that person. Let's go party with these people, this and that. But I was also still that friend zone dude too. You do what you can to make it work and not let shit bother you.
Yeah, well, I can see you being like the most epic Hinge ever, where you're like, hey, you meet this person. Like, you just have the world's biggest circle of friends.
Old school Hinge is like the best way to see it. That struck a nerve when you said that to me, because now that I think about it, that's what it was. Like, my best friends would be like, yo, he knows all the girls. Let's link up. Like, let's go out with him. Like, they'll take care of stuff, whatever. But like, we would call my best friend and I would call these things auditions. I would be posted up somewhere, right? Like at the club, at the bar, whatever. And then, people come in, say hello. They say, what's up? Like, blah, blah, blah. I got friends on both sides of me, girls or guys. They're just chilling. And then I'll be like, a girl will come up to me and say, what's up? Or a dude will come up to me and say, what's up? And then my friends will be like, oh, who's that? Da, 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 da. And then I'll be like, oh, bing, 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 bing. Here you go. They link up. They hook up. They date. They get married. They have kids. They hate each other. They don't make it. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? And it was just like a constant rotation of like, all right, well, fuck, like, where's my hookup at?
At first, it probably feels great to, make beautiful connections, or even if shit hits the fan, still, like, that's your talent. It's your natural born skills. Like, you connect people and you do a good job of that. But how did that make you feel at the end of the night?
It was fine until like I really was looking for like a relationship. But you really start to ponder, all right, what am I doing wrong? What can I be doing differently? Is it me? Is it someone else? I was not getting the time of day.
I mean, you mentioned some of this partying, whether it was making up for lost time, but you also mentioned kind of running away from things, you know, either masking it with drugs and alcohol. What were some of those things?
I mean, there are a lot of different things. Being on my own for the first time, not dating females because of, or being, you know, shit, damn near 300 pounds or the friend or whatever. Family issues. My parents, early 20s split, but like I kind of knew it was coming. So like you run away from those things. Pressure of becoming like the ideal son. You know what I mean? Like living up to like your parents' expectations, and then when you're not living up to them, how do you cope with it? How do you deal with it? Like not having the degree, or not going to school, or not living the way you should. You know what I mean? Like fighting all these battles of what's wrong and what's right, or what's good for you and what's not. Alcohol and drugs definitely help soothe for the time, but also like looking back at it now, it could have also done like, I mean, there were nights where it went bad.
You weren't kidding. You had a lot going on that you just unpacked with, you know, I think a lot of people can relate to not only the parent situation, an even more common theme is just like the expectations from your parents and living up to that. And I mean, was there a point that you shook that, or that was always in the back of your head, even when you were partying, doing drugs? Like, were you still thinking about those expectations?
I think I didn't shake that until my late 20s. If I'm being honest, I still like have troubles like shaking it now. It's still there, but it doesn't have the forefront as it once did, because I'm a different individual 10 years later. Success is measured differently. Goals are different. Lifestyles are completely different. I'm living the complete opposite of what my parents would ever think, and even myself. Like I didn't think I would live the life that I'm currently living, and I enjoy it thoroughly. I think I had to personally go through I want to say 2 or 3 big downs before I got out.
You've definitely come a long way. It's much easier said than done. You really have made like a complete 180. What was a turning point for you? I mean, this podcast, you know, it's all about people hearing stories of like the shit, what now moment. I mean, what was that moment for you?
Full disclosure, I don't really have anything to hide. I can tell you my story and you really can like feel what the hell's going on, and like it may help you, it may not help you. Like I'm here for it. For me, between 21 and 23, we've been partying hard, drugs were heavy, and then I got to a point where I was just kind of like fed up. That was the first time I realized that like I needed to fill my cup before I can give to others' cups. And I also realized that like I need to be happy before I try to make other people happy. I wasn't happy. I got rid of my cell phone for a year. Cut it off completely. My parents couldn't get a hold of me. My brother was the only one that I think could get a hold of me, and that was through like instant messenger every once in a blue moon. But I literally cut everyone out. I cut everybody out. I was also very heavy then too. So like I was battling weight issues. My highest was 280, 285. I'm 5'10" and a half at best. I'm not supposed to be a very large individual. That scared me. So it was a combination of having a high tolerance for alcohol and drugs, and then realizing that like I couldn't keep going this route and eating like shit, drinking like shit. And then like health and fitness wasn't really big in my life either, because I come from a family that they just knew how to survive. They're just trying to make money to send us to school, give us the basic necessities, you know, things like that. So an inexpensive meal or McDonald's and stuff like that when you own your own business at that time was a good meal. Anything on sale, Walmart all day long. Like, so I grew up on like Hamburger Helper, shit like that, ramen, you know, fried foods, things like that. 285 was my heaviest, and I cut everybody off.
Wait, I want to go back to this. A whole year where you were you living alone?
At that point, I think I might have had 1 or 2 roommates. So I saw my roommates, and then I had a few friends that I kept in my circle, like that, like honestly, what we would do is we would fucking go to work, and then they would come over, we would get high. So I was self-soothing in that way.
But was it helpful for you to, you said that you cut off your phone, no communication. Was that intentional and helpful ultimately? Or?
When you get to a certain point where you feel like you're out of control, you have to reel it back in. When you're going 7 days a week partying hard and like you really can't stop yourself because you're just like, what else am I gonna do? I'm just gonna keep doing this. I didn't really have a clear picture, because I think I kind of shut everybody out, tuned everybody out, and was like, fuck this, I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want. And that's not a good way to look at it, but like I'm happy I did go through it, because sometimes you just have to go through moments like that to figure out what your next moves are. My friends would call me and like, yo, you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And that would be it. And they're like, yo, like something ain't right. Like, I remember this one night, like just going in on ecstasy. MDMA was my drug of choice. I went in and I realized how much I did, and it was just like, holy shit, like I should not be able to do this much. I should not be able to drink this much. So I was like, all right, man, you got to peel back off of that too. But things like snowball, you know what I mean? Like when you soothe with drugs, alcohol, food, toxic relationships, bad spending habits, whatever, like however you cope, like that. I think for some people, you have to be aware of yourself for it to click for you to stop. If you're not aware, then you don't pull the trigger and you just keep going until you can't go no more.
No, that makes sense. That has to be a scary moment, because you're realizing that your body is able to actually handle this amount of something that's dangerous. And so was that a rude awakening in a sense?
Not as rude as it could have been. It was one of those things where I was like, all right, well, I don't need to be doing this much. Maybe I needed to peel back. Maybe I need to refocus my energy on something else. Which led to working more, hitting the gym more, having people in your corner that want you to hit the gym. So like you back off of that, back off the drinking, back off the smoking, and then you go work out instead. You start to try that process, which was, it's like me speaking Spanish. I don't know no Spanish. What the fuck is working out? What is a meal plan? I'm just eating because I'm hungry or high or drunk.
So how old were you when you started to think a little bit more about your physical health?
So I had dropped some weight between like my early 20s and my mid 20s. Maybe like 20 pounds or so. I was around 250 or something like that.
And how are you feeling?
I'm feeling better because, at one point I was a 44 waistline and a triple X. I started playing ball and lifting a little bit. So my friends were getting in good shape and I was like, I kind of want to be like them. I want to move like they move. They get all the girls now. Like, I'm like, I want that. So I started to kind of do that a little bit, and then it falls off, of course, because it's a process, right? When you're not used to doing something, like you have to make sure you check yourself and continue to just keep pushing. Up, down, up, down, up, down. It's never, one straight line, right? Like they say, they don't see all the shit that's happening down here. It was this. Working in a restaurant don't help either. I can reach in the fry basket, or grab a wonton, or egg roll. That was an up-down battle too. I got down to my lowest point in 2011. I want to say I was under 200 at that point. So I had dropped, it was back and forth for the 5 years. And then I had gotten down real low. But that was also because I was eating Adderall, limiting my meals, working out, and rolling too. So like when you do drugs, you don't really eat. So combination of all those things together. And we were starting to hit festivals and things like that. Then it was starting to come up, and I was skinny. Like I was skinny. 34 waist. You can see my jawline. So like this is something that I haven't had in shit since I was in middle school. Maybe I was chunky in middle school, so I never really had it. I feel drained, but I still feel a lot better. And then relationships happen. You get comfortable, you gain some weight. The other person works out, you don't. You get in a fight about that, you work out, they don't. You get in a fight about that. You're young, you know what I mean? You're trying to navigate life together. You think they might be like there for the long term. They might not be, shit like that. It was all new to me. Like again, I started late, so like I took things on a little bit heavier. And then things changed. She moved off to New York to go to grad school. So that didn't really work out. We were probably toxic to each other. That was kind of like a battle back and forth for probably longer than it should have been. At that point, I was breaking up with her and was like, what the fuck am I gonna do? And then this is probably like my biggest life-changing like run right here. This is where like things catapult and completely change who I am as a person, I feel.
Let's get into it. Oh, sorry to leave you on a cliffhanger like that, but check out part 3 of my chat with Phi, where he opens up about this new, exciting adventure at a brand new job, but how he continued on this up and down battle with his weight until finally things started to click after some really scary moments. His perspective started to change. Head over to part 3.